In the next step, let us produce a nice looking histogram that will show the distribution of the values of variable HDI, or Human Development Index, in our dataset. Remember that the variable runs from 0 to 1, where 1 is the highest theoretically possible development. We want to see where on this range our countries lie. You may remember that a histogram is a graph that looks like a bar chart, but that has many categories. And these categories are in fact partitions of some continuous dimension into separate discrete sections. For example, we may divide our continuum of Human Development Index that runs from 0 to 1 into 20 distinct categories with the width of 0.05. So the first category will range from 0 to 0.05, the second from 0.05 to 0.1, the third from 0.1 to 0.15, and so on and so forth. To create such a histogram in Excel, we first need to tell Excel how wide we want our categories to be. In other words, we need to tell it where to draw the categories borders. To do it, let us create an auxiliary variable called bins somewhere next to our dataset, but let's first get rid of these graphs. The variable bins will consist of 21 incrementally increasing numbers from 0 to 1. Like this. Once we have it, we can go to the Analysis toolpack under the Data ribbon and find the function called histogram. For the input area, let us mark the value of the variable HDI, so all the data between E2 and E47, which is the last data point in this column. For the bins borders, we will use the values we have just created. We want the histogram to be created on a new worksheet, that's okay. And we want not only the count numbers, but we actually also want a graph or a chart, so we also want the chart output. There are some other options with which you can play yourselves. Pressing OK creates a new sheet with the list of all the categories, or the bins, and counts of countries within each of them. So many zeros at the beginning, and here we start, I suppose, with India and other countries. Equally importantly, it also creates a nice looking histogram, like the one we have seen in the class. So great, we have just learned how to create a histogram using Analysis toolpack in Microsoft Excel. And now actually, here comes the moment where we see, I would say for the first time, how beautiful R is. In R, all we need to do to create a histogram for variable HDI, Human Development Index, is to type hist for histogram, and then in brackets the name of the variable. So in this case, we will need to type exporters to identify the dataset, the $sign, and then simply HDI for Human Development Index variable. And here we are, we have a beautiful, nice histogram. Simple, isn't it? Well, we may also want to make the graph look a bit more fancy. So we may use our favorite option, main, to give it a title. And perhaps we may also want to make it colorful. So let us specify the col for color option, and let's set color equal to red. But otherwise we don't need to change anything else. And here we are, beautiful histogram. This looks much better indeed than the first one. So in R, creating a histogram turned out to be much simpler and much more straightforward than in Excel. And in fact, to do this, you only need one line of code, a rather simple one anyway.